Hey,
Hello, mate.
hey, love the shirt.
Thank you, buddy.
Just click on subscribe. Touch screen. Touch screen. Hey guys, welcome to a long overdue chat with Mitch Walkerton on touchscreen. That's the intro. It's a long
G'day,
overdue
Tom.
chat. How you going,
It has
man?
been a little while. Good, man.
Yeah.
Going great.
I think the last chat we did, we were talking junior regionals,
Yes,
which is
too
probably
long ago, mate.
six months ago. But we've got
Hmm.
another hot topic that we want to cover, and that's Vawdon Cup. We're just around the corner from the first round of the semi-finals in a what's been a condensed sort of rejigged Vawdon Cup. So might talk a little bit about what your thoughts are on that straight up before we get into the nitty gritty of
Yeah, look,
our
absolutely.
predictions.
Well, I'd like to ask you, Tom, if I can. First time Maitland, who is, two and a bit hours north of Sydney, has
Hmm.
participated. The data sort of shows that, the competition has grown in terms of participation numbers and the number of teams. You're actually playing Division One, I hear, big fella.
I yeah, so yes, but what you said first, it's the first time I think since like 1999 or something that Maitland's fielded Vawdon Cup teams, and back then I think it was just called Sydney Champs, and they had a mixed team play. But yeah, we've been talking about it for a couple of years now, and finally managed to what was going to be just one team, and then we had a lot of interest, and it's turned into two teams. Have a men's Div One and a boys Youth League side, and yes. Um, I ended up having to register for the men's Div 1 because at points in the season we had plenty of people unavailable because of end of season footy trips and things like that. So yes, I played 4 games. I'm technically eligible for finals.
Ooh, look out.
And
And
there's
how
a
have you
lot of
found it, mate? How have you
uh,
found it playing Division One?
I haven't played. So when I was younger, the teams that I were playing in, we were getting 6 or 7 to training. And then when I got into men's open, it was sort of a more of a drinking first touch footy second attitude. So I'd never really played in a team that was really competitive and really like we want to go there and play good touch football. So that was awesome. I actually really loved playing it. A couple of the guys that I coached all the way back in under 10s were playing on the field, standing
Yeah.
next to me, saving me from getting absolutely smoked by Hills Hornets. So that was really enjoyable. I don't think I'll play again because everyone's sort of back on deck, but more than happy with getting those 4 games in.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a real funny one because, you know, I live on the coast. Last year we had, I think, 9 Friday night games, and I
Mhm.
think 8 of them were at Vale of R at 9:30. And
Ooh.
absolutely, not complaining, not, trying to take a shot, not trying to be a hater at all. It's just the way the draw worked out. But um, it had an impact on the number of players that we could have. Um, I see it from some of the biggest Sydney clubs, whereby it is called the Vawdon Cup. It's was like you mentioned the Sydney champs, and traditionally was done on Friday nights. Um, I sort of look at what Volandis sort of says with regards to rugby league and horse racing and the like. You've always got to be changing. You've always got to be looking at how you can get more revenue, more growth. Um, and I think a lot of the Sydney clubs might not like the new format, but selfishly, for country affiliates like us who are 90 minutes away, or you guys who are 2 hours away, or Mudgee, or Orange, or whoever, I think it is really, really good. The fact that it's all done in 4 weeks. The triple header Sunday works really well. It's tough sledding out at Penrith, but um, I think if you look at I guess the overall participation number, and that's what we sort of, I guess, base our sport on. Is making sure that there's more people playing. I think it is. I think it is better. My only, if I could, I'd potentially try and I don't know how you do it with NYC, is try and move it forward a little bit so it isn't as close to State Cup as possible. But um, for me personally, I like the format. I like
You like
the
the
double headers and triple headers and all that sort of stuff, as opposed to having to drive to, you know, Vale of R, 8 Friday nights in a row in the
yeah,
middle of
well,
winter.
we got New South Wales Touch actually looked after us pretty well for our first sort of Vawdon Cup. Our men's open did go to Valevar one time, and it was a bit of an early. It was during the double header, the second round of double headers, and they did have a 7 p.m. game, which was a bit of a tight. Uh, it was an early bus trip, so we had a couple of buses go. And yeah, the men's open had to get on the bus, I think, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon if they wanted to catch the bus. Um,
Yeah.
but the boys team that I'm with, like I'm coaching the youth team, the two times we've been to Sydney have both been at Doyle Ground at Parramatta.
Yeah, no, it's all
And
yeah,
I
look,
think
New
I
South Wales Touch do a fantastic job, right? So, like, when Orange came across with Joel Begnall and now that Mudgie's here, they do their best to try and put them at Penrith or Parramatta, which is easier to get to than, potentially a Tempe or whatnot. So, big shout out to New South Wales Touch, always looking out and where they do, trying to look out for the affiliates.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing, so you say that what you would change would be pushing it forward. I can't really compare. Like, this is my first ever time being involved with Vawdon. I'd never even gone and watched games apart from on the live stream during the grand finals. But one thing I was really looking forward to, and I hope they sort of think about going back to it, is 40-minute games, two 20-minute halves.
It's almost impossible though. Like, you
I
can't play a
know.
double header with 20-minute
Yeah.
halves,
It'd
right?
have to be the
So
double headers would have to be Sunday games and stuff like that. I get, which I get, but it's just
yeah,
more of a selfish thing, thinking that you want as much minutes of touch football if you're going to be doing a more than 4 hour round trip. But that's just obviously, if I was living in Sydney, and my thoughts on that would probably be different. You want it as consistent with State Cup, which is what you're training for. So that's just
I,
a little personal gripe from up here in Maitland.
Yeah, look, I think it's a really valid point, right? So a lot of our tournaments that we actually play is 30-minute touchdown turnaround. I really like the fact that Vorden was always two 20-minute halves, but you can't play you can't play a triple header with 40-minute games. And it'd be really stretching the friendship, I think, to play double headers with 40-minute games. So
Yeah.
I think the trade-off is, we play 30 minutes straight or whatnot. So, yeah,
And
but
what did
I
you
hear you.
What did you think of the big triple header? Like, me personally, it felt like I was at a small state cup just for a
Yeah,
day.
unreal. So good. I think it was unreal. It was great that everyone was there. Um, the only thing is, I wouldn't like Vawdon Cup to sort of lose its gloss, so to speak, and almost become like a build up tournament for State
Mm.
Cup. It's traditionally very hard to win a State Cup, but again, triple header on one day, I think it's fantastic. Just makes it so much more easier for everyone to participate. Everyone's busy. There's different sports, different things on. So I think if you can condense it, happy days, mate. Love it.
Yeah, and so it ended up being so 9 rounds, which is that what it's always been, about 9 or 10 rounds? I think a couple of divisions had 10 rounds. If there was like everyone was going to have at least two buys or something like that, they gave a 10th round.
Yeah, I
That's
think
the length it's always been, hasn't it?
yeah, I think it really depends on how many teams there are. So Premier League has not men's and women's hasn't always had 10 teams.
Hmm.
We played Division One, I think 2 years ago, and there was 12 teams.
Okay. So you didn't-
So we had 11 round games, but I think the way the format, the way the fields, they want divisions with 10 teams in each division. I think it works out nice and easy. So yeah.
So I'm going to put a question that you're probably not prepared for. There was a period of time where mixed didn't have a division.
Mm,
Why do
very,
you
very long
reckon?
time.
Yeah, why do you think that? Like, looking at the mixed division now, it's mixed division one. There's 4 teams. Why do you think that
Yeah.
there's not many mixed teams playing Vorden? Yet you go to State Cup, and mixed is probably the most popular division around.
I
I
would
can't I
my
can't
my
quite get my finger on it. Why that's the
my
case?
my initial response, without looking at the teams that participated in mixed last year, I would say a lot of the mixed teams in both the A and the B would be country affiliates, where potentially they struggle to get a men's opens and a women's open, and it's much easier to get a mixed opens team,
Hmm.
where you only need 5 or 6 girls, 6 or 7 boys. Okay, great. Let's go to State Cup.
Yep.
That would be my initial, I guess, answer. But yeah, I
That's
guess
a
you'd have
fair
to sort
one.
of. I think you'd have to look into, the teams that sort of play and have done well. Like Port Macquarie are always good in mixed. Wollongong are typically good in mixed. Newey. So I think potentially a lot of the better mixed teams might be country affiliates that then don't play
That
Vawdon
makes
Cup. And
sense.
again, New South Wales Touch has done a really good job whereby you can play both divisions and made some concessions to try and help bring back a mixed comp, albeit with 4 teams. And again, it's great because for many, many years there wasn't a mixed opens team or a mixed opens comp at Vawdon Cup sort of thing. So yeah.
That's a good point. No, definitely what you said about the country affiliates for sure.
So
Righto.
this week, you've got the week off on Friday night, which is lovely for the
We
men's Division
do.
1 boys.
Yeah, so we were in Boys Youth League 2. In hindsight, a lot of people are saying that we probably should have entered Division 1.
Okay.
But like first time at Vawdon, we didn't really know what we were up against. And
Sure.
I think we put Boys Youth League 2 because a lot of our men's open players could still play Boys Youth. There's probably about 5 of them in our men's open team that haven't even played Boys Youth all year. And we thought because we lost them for the whole year, we might need to go Div 2, but they're looking pretty healthy in Div 2.
Good.
East Roosters are going to give us some problems though. We had a round game against them at Parramatta, and that was such a good game. It looked like if you walked past it, you would probably think that was a Div 1 game. East were very good.
Okay, that's good, man. But big advantage not having to come to Sydney on Friday night. Get a chance to stay at home, all that sort of stuff. Come down on Sunday.
And another good thing is a lot of my team, there's a few of the boys that have just made it into Newcastle Knights squad, into rugby league squads, and their training starts this week.
There you go.
It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I would have ruled them out on Friday night. So we just scraped in. They played last Friday, and the end of the season just scraped in before they started Knights training. So,
well, there you go.
Excuse me. So that was lucky. All right.
Good
so
stuff.
we want to talk about. We talk about the team that you're affiliated with this time, a bit of a new team, which will segue into what we're going to talk about, which is we're going to talk about the divisions, the Premier League divisions. So just looking at, I'll just talk about the finalists. The finals format for Vawdon is first and second get the week off, third plays 6th, and 4th plays 5th. And first and second will play, obviously, the winners of those matches on Friday. So we have Penrith and Sharks, and West versus Bankstown. And I'll just say Sharks, I think this is their first year playing Premier League.
Very, very long time. I think to be honest, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. When I was a kid and I was, started coming up, Cronulla was a powerhouse in touch. To be honest, I think a lot of the kids who are now, or I shouldn't call them kids, but the young men who are now playing Premier League was a lot of their parents.
Wow.
Who were a lot of the, the Hall of Famers and, very, very famous people within our sport that, sort of dominated. And now a lot of their boys, Gabro's boy and, the like are all now competing. And they will be very, 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 very good in the future. They're good right now. Huge achievement for Vawdon to finish 6th. Personally, I can't see them getting past Penrith in that elimination. I think West and Bankstown will be an absolute beauty. I think West will beat Bankstown because Wests are they're just so fit and fast and bang, 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 bang. And then I've actually got West beating Parramatta on Sunday. I've got the Coast beating Penrith on Sunday. And I've got the Coast beating Wests in the grand final.
Oh, so your prediction's gone all the way. Okay. No, that's good.
So who have you got? The Riff versus Cronulla in the elimination on Friday?
Well, so I've got Penrith. I just
Okay.
I haven't seen enough of the Sharks though. So I can't
Mm,
it's hard for me to comment. I've watched Penrith a couple of times.
yep.
I watched them against Parramatta on Sunday. That was
Yep.
a great game. Penrith actually came down with a couple of injuries in the game, but they picked up Jack Dean this year. So
Yes. From
it's
Orange.
a
Yes.
and look, getting a bit of youth in that Penrith side is definitely not going to hurt them.
Yep.
They are a bit of an aging side, which is like it's not a bad thing. You look at like Hornsby, or Hornsby have had a pretty old side. Doyleson are sort of on the older side, but they're still dominating.
Shout out to the grandpas at Hornsby and
Hey,
Nick Wood. No offense, brother.
I'm playing
Tom said it, not
opens.
me, mate.
I'm playing opens. I played juniors against Nick Good. He
Wasn't
probably
me,
doesn't even
Nick. Wasn't me. You keep running,
Nick
bro.
probably
It wasn't me.
Nick probably doesn't even know who I am, but I know who Nick is. I played. It was if I was this is my juniors. Okay, if I was playing against Penrith, it was Nick Good. If I was playing against Manly, it was Sam Brisby, and if I was playing against Parramatta, it was Jordan Marshall King.
Oh,
So
see you later,
they're
champ.
yeah, one of the. Usually, we're going to go up against one of those three at a junior state cup.
No good, mate.
But yeah, also I'll tip Penrith for that. Just
Yes.
based on experience, I think last
Yeah.
10 minutes that's where that will come in handy. And
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think West will get over Bankstown.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What about them, West versus Para in the grand final qualifier?
that's a good one. I have.
Yeah,
Whoa. So is Jordan playing? Vawdon? I
I'm
didn't
not
see him on
sure.
the weekend.
I'm not sure.
So that'll make a huge difference. I don't know. West. I'd like to see West in the grand final. I think their style is very attractive to watch.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of they keep the sort of old fashionedness in
Yep.
their game a little bit. I think that's just because of like Tony Trad and his history with the club. And Tony Trad was big on traditional style touch football, and the traditional style I've always found is better to watch. So I'd like to see West over Para. Para won last year as well, so I always
Yep.
don't mind mixing up the winners. Just keep the competition interesting. So I'm going to go West over Para. It's not really that's just my personal sort of interest there. And then yeah, I will have Coast winning against either Penrith or Sharks. So I'm going to go Coast West as well.
Mm. And who you got winning the grand final, mate?
Coast.
There you go.
I have Central Coast winning the grand final.
There you go.
I've got if it was a Central Coast West grand final, it wouldn't surprise me if West scored the first two tries even. But I think
Well, I think West beat the Coast Boys 4-3 on Sunday too, right? So
okay.
Yeah. Watch
But
this
if we
space.
talk about the ladder, the teams
Yep.
that missed out, Manly, Canterbury, Hornsby, and Beaches.
Yes.
So Manly, I think, are another team that's sort of on the upper.
Yeah.
They've got. I do know they've got quite a young. They've got a couple of sort of boys that have been around for a while, but I think the bulk of theirs is quite young, and their juniors are always very healthy coming through. It's got some good juniors there, so I think they're in a good spot. Manly, Canterbury, Canterbury, I don't really know much about. They did not perform that particularly well last year at State Cup.
No.
And there was a whisper, I don't know if you heard it, that they might not even have a Premier League team this year.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, that's
I
just
think
a whisper.
they're going through a bit of a rebuilding phase. They had a pretty
Yeah.
strong 18s team that went down south to Wagga.
Okay.
They've got a Division 2 team. They've got the Prems team. From what I've seen the last 12 months, they've made improvements, with regards to the way that they're playing. And I think there is brighter days ahead. For the Bulldogs.
And it says here like they had 3 draws. Like, so it's not a case of they don't belong in the Premier League division. I'm talking. I heard this in January, probably
okay.
fresh after State Cup when they haven't done well. You probably say that about whoever does that. Hornsby, whether or not they pick up players for State Cup, not too sure.
I think I'll have to say that Hornsby never go well at Vawdon Cup ever, right? So they go down with 8 and 9 players.
Wow.
It's the same every year, right? So My fear with Hornsby, and we'll do a State Cup preview, is Old Man River.
Hmm.
They're just like, it's a young man's game. And, you know, I like a lot of them and I know a lot of them personally, but they're just too old. Maybe they prove me wrong, but I don't know. I just think they're too old.
And I
So,
do get, and you look at Hornsby too. What sort of worries you a little bit with Hornsby is that their juniors and their men's 20s weren't particularly great in the
yep.
last 12 months. Don't know. I actually haven't looked at. They don't have a men's Div 1 team. They might have a Div 2 team that are some
They've
young
got a Div
guys.
2 team. They do have
Well,
a
if
Div
that
2 team.
okay, well if that's full of their younger guys, the teenagers, rather than more
Yep.
seasoned players, then that's probably putting them on the right track at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting you said that about Hornsby never going good at Vawdon.
Yeah. No, they rarely do. So,
And then Northern
um,
Beaches, it's funny, Northern Beaches, right? So the first double header at Doyle Ground, they had Premier League games, and I watched Northern Beaches play against Hornsby. And because we were there for the Boys Youth League, and a lot of those guys had never even seen a Premier League match. So we all watched that
mm,
game. Best crowd, by the way, Northern Beaches.
oh, there you go.
Hands down, most vocal crowd. But it looked like a really good game. And Northern Beaches, with the young players they've got, they'll be good in the future. Like
Yeah, 100%.
oh,
100%.
like so. I think
They
Charlie
made the semi-finals last year. You know what I mean? So,
and
uh,
they made the semi-finals, and it rained in that semi-final.
yeah.
So
So,
the rain can play tricks on anyone. So I would have loved to see it was against Doyleson. I would have loved to see Beaches versus Doyleson in a dry field
mm,
because yeah, it would have been such a great game. It was such a great game in the rain, but yeah, it's just what if?
yeah, no, that's right. So, yeah,
So looking
no,
at
they'll be okay.
so looking at that ladder, is there any sort of surprises? Like I know you said you're really happy for the Sharks to make the six. Are you surprised with any sort of placings on
No,
the
not
ladder, or
really.
is that sort of
I
what you
don't
thought
think
would
so because
happen?
you got a few of the battle-hardened teams that have, you know, been fairly successful that have, um, you know, gone quite well. So I don't think there's any surprises. I think if you switch over to the girls division, I haven't seen a lot of
Let's do
I
that
haven't
then.
seen a lot of I haven't seen a lot of the girls play, but looking at the ladder, I was very surprised that Manly didn't finish in the top two
Me
because I got
too.
the chance to watch them. I got the chance to watch them on Sunday, and
Sitting next to me.
I was too.
You were
Yes,
sitting. We
I
were sitting next
was.
to each other.
I was. And mate, they're fantastic. They are so good. But East finished tops, Dogs finished second. Manly play the Gades in the knockout on Friday night, which I think
There it
that
is.
they'll roll over top of them. Walls End play Hills in the other eliminator. I think Hills will potentially win that, maybe, not sure. Walls End's a fairly young team. Unfortunately, I don't think it really matters. Whoever wins will get KO'd by Easts. Um,
So just looking at this draw now, the girls are actually going into two split. So I'm guessing that's because like there's a women's Premier League, a Div 1, and
I
then a
think
Div
there's a
3.
bowl.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think there's a bowl.
yeah.
So
So
the teams that finish 7, 8, so they don't do that in the men's,
which
but
is
in the women's,
interesting.
I think there's a 7, 8, 9, 10. So
I
there's a
wonder if that's
bowl.
because remember when they put out the email saying that they're like talking about options for women's Premier League.
Mm.
That might be it because they might New South Wales Touch might be a little bit concerned that not as many teams are nominating women's Premier League as what they hope for.
Yeah, not sure. I know,
Um,
I watched a fair bit of my daughter's playing Premier League, and it was the youngest women's Premier League team comp that I've
yeah,
seen. Right, so there was a lot of like West Penrith. There was a lot of young teams. Coast Balls End's a young team. Um, Hills is a fairly young team. So I think there was a lot of young teams playing Vawdon. So I would assume that was the reason why New South Wales Touch has gone that way, mate. So
mhm.
But I think Manly will play Easts in the grand final. And
Talk to me about East. So East made the grand final, I think, in 2017. I think they upset Manly in the semis, but got done by Canterbury. And I haven't
oh,
seen much. I haven't seen much of East since then. And
yeah,
then
they've been chipping away.
been
They've
chipping it
been
away.
chipping away. Yeah,
Have
they've
they
been chipping away.
have they recruited anyone like big names, or are they just working from the ground up? I
I think a
haven't
lot of
like
their
because
players. Again, I'm question without notice. I don't know a lot, but
let
I
us know in
know
the
that the
comments if anyone here is
there
from
you go.
East. I should ask my wife this actually. That's who she used to play for back in the day. But if anyone knows in the comments, like where, because to be honest, I was completely surprised looking at the Women's Premier League ladder that East were on top. First
Yeah.
thing I thought it was, okay, I don't know something here. Whether they've
Mm,
just done a Penrith Panthers in the NRL and just done a big work our way from the ground up with our juniors filtering through to opens. No idea. I'd really like to know because, like, I really love seeing teams go well that traditionally haven't gone well in the past few years.
yeah, no,
So
I think a lot of the core of their team has been together.
that's good.
But I can't really comment with regards to the comings and goings of certain players, sort of thing. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, I have Manly beating West. I'm sure West were hoping that Manly made the top two. Uh, Wallsend actually beat Hills in the round game,
yep. I think that
uh,
was yep.
but I do think Hills will probably get over Wallsend, but that'll be a
Mm,
tight one. It'll be that.
yeah.
I talk about either way. That could definitely go either way. Um, but yeah, I think Manly will then beat Canterbury,
Hmm.
um, and East will beat the winner of
Whoever, yeah, correct.
Wallsend and
Yep,
Hills. Yeah,
yep.
but
Manly
it's
East
good.
grand final.
It's good to see Wallsend doing well in Premier League because they've jumped straight
Yeah,
in the deep end.
absolutely.
They didn't
Yeah,
go. We'll have a
absolutely.
year in. They didn't go. We'll have a year in Div One. They just went nah.
No, I agree.
Premier League, and they've done. I'd like to think that that's been a successful year, even if they bow out.
No, I agree with that as well, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
And the bowl, I'm going to go to the ladder now. So I say East are undefeated, had two draws. So down to the bowl would be so Renegades, Penrith, Norths, and Coast.
Mm.
Coast, I think, have had a bit of a few weeks struggled with numbers as well. I
Yeah,
think one week they played
they're a
with
very,
10
very
and
young team, right? So very, very young. But there's a way forward for the group, and there's other kids and players in the squad. So the club's done really well. Fielding the team, and there'll be better days ahead as well. So
Mhm.
they'll all learn and continue to grow.
And I think another club that was sort of hit like that a few years ago was Wollongong. Um, they
Yeah.
started they had all their players sort of reach their sort of potential of what they could achieve in men's open, and then now they're playing mixed. Like obviously you can't
Mm.
play men's Premier League forever, and they're playing mixed now, and it's now sort of rebuilding into what we see Wollongong again, and they're in the finals for Div One, but they're again like the new generation of Wollongong. So
Yeah, absolutely,
it
mate. For sure.
might be a case of sort of the Wollongong situation. Wollongong are playing Maitland actually on Friday night, and
Well, there you go.
I have ticked that I'm available, but I would be happy not to play. Happy to let the younger players do that. They're only if absolutely necessary.
There you go,
That's
mate.
that's pretty good. Anyway, so I think we've covered that. So our tips are Central Coast and did you say who you think will win out of East and Manly?
Oh, Manly win. Manly win everything
Manly.
in women's. Yeah,
Manly win everything in women's.
yeah. Brownie
We
and Keithy, they just roll on in, mate. They
yeah.
they win everything.
That's look like that. They do. They win everything. And it just looks effortless for Manly, doesn't it? It's
It does. It does.
it's like yeah, it just a
They bring new
lot.
players into their program. They're very much like the Penrith Panthers, where they've got
Yeah,
this infrastructure in place, and they can lose a player or two, and then they just bring these kids or these other players into their program, and they don't miss a beat.
Mm. But anyway,
So,
I think we've pretty much covered the Vawdon chat.
there we go.
Yeah, so let's see.
Good chatting to you, Tommy.
Hopefully, our predictions are better than what we predicted of junior regionals, because I think they were terrible.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, mine were awful. I think I got one right. I honestly think I got one right, and I was like, I had good reasons. I was going off the state finals, the results of state finals, and it just didn't happen. But it worked well because Hornets got affiliate champions or whatever that award is.
They did.
Yeah, so go Hornets. You go Hornets.
Go Hornets.
Probably the recording might have it that side of me, so I don't know which way you're actually going to be on the final result. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you got to this far, we appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe. Comment Comment if you know what's going on with East. Tell us how they got to the top of the minor premiership, I guess you could call it. And yeah, we'll see you on the next chat.
Summer is here, you know what that means. It's touch footy season, so start to get keen. For all the best content, the best you have seen, just click on subscribe to Touchscreen.